Well, anyway, let's shuffle on to our next topic, ladies and gents, which is
Cue the video, yeah.
I saw this. Star Trek 4 is still on the tracks, according to the writer. Is this the same people that announced it before they even even told the actors? I mean, is this really happening now? Come on, behave. Really?
It is literally like clockwork now that every 4 months or so, there's a new announcement saying, oh, it's still happening, or a new director has joined in, or what have you. But at this point, no, until they actually get the money, none of these actors are going to be signed up for anything as far as like solid.
Good gravy. These people are trying to milk this dead cow, and there's nothing there.
Oh, huge. It literally doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. So this is the writer, Lindsay Anderson Beer, said to Collider while promoting.
By the way, proper name, right? Beer. I'm happy about that.
Yeah. It says it's still on the tracks. She responded when asked if the 4th movie was ever going to happen. So it is going to happen, is it? Press X the doubt, ladies and gents. Press X the doubt. I love that project. What project? It's not. You haven't written anything. What are you on about? And it was another one that I had to hop off to direct this movie. And that was a hard thing to do. But I love everybody involved with that project. Who's involved? Because the actors apparently weren't. What are you actually talking about? But it doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
What are they actually talking about when they say what thoughts?
Because they were announced to work on it. And then instead, when nothing was happening, when they couldn't get the money together, as I just said, and they had money for Pet Sematary Bloodlines, they went and gave it was like as a makeup. They said, "Here, go work on this instead."
Yeah, probably.
I'm not kidding. That's most likely what happened. And because look, they are
the same.
That's the thing is they need the money to make these movies. They don't have the money.
Oh,
Nobody wants to invest.
Paramount. It's Paramount Plus.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even kidding.
Right. You are absolutely right.
Because I know what's going on in Star Trek right now. The only thing that has any movement on it is their Academy show and Section 31, and they're finishing off Star Trek Discovery. And I think they got another thing of Strange New Worlds coming. But there's going to be like up to 7 projects for Star Trek running, and not one of them is going to be Star Trek 4. They're all television, Paramount Plus based shit. So I don't see it happening unless they can come up with somebody who can invest like $100-some million into this. Because you have to pay Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, what's her face from Guardians of the Galaxy and such. I just forgot her name.
Yeah,
Zoe Saldana. And all those guys, and basically Pine has already said he's not going to budge, because that's where the problem they had was they tried to get everybody back together and they're like, they tried to promise them some back end deals as long as they took a pay cut on the front end, and they're like, no,
this is my contract.
And
also, I know these films don't make money, so I'm not going to get that back end deal, am I?
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what he said. Yeah, so. Yeah, well, and it didn't help that, and this was somebody they fired, which I couldn't believe, or got rid of, or moved, or whatever, a while back. This lady named Emma Roberts, I think her name was. She had come out and basically said that when it comes to Star Trek, these movies have a ceiling, okay? And she was 100% right. You could tell she went and did her homework, because if you go back and you do the inflation calculator on all of the Star Trek movies, the J.J. Abrams movies did not gross anymore. In fact, they didn't even gross as much as, say, Star Trek 1 or Star Trek The Wrath of Khan or Star Trek 4, for instance. They actually made less and cost like 2 or 3 times as much. Jeez. That's the other thing. So she was saying there's a ceiling on these things. We cannot be spending X amount of money, like $100-200 million, and expecting these movies to make $1 billion. They're just not going to. And then all of a sudden she was silenced and moved. Yeah, it's like, no, this person actually knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, well, Well, they seem to do that with anyone that knows what they're talking about. You had Ike Perlmutter being, binned off from Marvel. He knew what he was talking about as well. It literally is what they're doing now. So it's absolutely ridiculous.
No, the Star Trek movies were basically the highbrow version of the Friday the 13th films in the 80s.
Yeah.
You need to real
What you need to do is get bloody Gareth Edwards on board. He'll make it for pittance. Just like he did The Creator.
We're all amortized, right? Like each movie paid, like they kept the stuff left over from the last movie. They even reused special effects shots and stuff. Like you watch those first 6 Star Trek movies, they feel like they're big and expensive. The only one that's big and expensive is the first one.
Yeah.
Like after that, they're not as expensive as you'd think because they just keep reusing stuff. And then they amortized a bunch of that stuff from the movies into Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah. This film was never getting made. It is never getting made, is it? Right,
and the reason I compare them to Friday the 13th, because I'm sure some people are scratching their heads, and that was the reason why, is because Friday the 13th was cheap. They made one like every year, every other year. They cost next to nothing to make, and they would just rake in a bunch of money for the studio so that they would cover any costs they had on any other bombs at the box office, basically. And Star Trek was the same kind of thing for them. They didn't spend much money, 30 million tops, I think was the highest spending one at that time besides the first film. And they all made like 2 or 3 times that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I do think, I wonder when The Creator drops, if it does well, whether that will change the industry in terms of their approach to filmmaking. Because that
if it makes a blip, maybe.
Yeah.
How do you think it's going to perform? Because I haven't seen a lot of... I mean, we've talked about it a lot in our community, not just us, but I mean, a few people outside of just this podcast have talked about it. But I've not really seen much advertising for it. So I'm curious. Have you? Okay. Actually, so maybe they're maybe more heavier over there. I don't know, but I have not seen much about here. So.
Yeah, I don't know either, to be honest. Because I had assumed it was a pretty substantial worldwide marketing sort of deal that they were going on. But yeah, I've seen a fair amount plastered all over buses and stuff like that. And there's some pretty big billboard signs of it as well. Like when I was driving into London, there was some of them. I mean, that's the place to do it as well. Big city centers. So,
and what's funny is the people that I interact with that are, what we call the normies. They all seem to be thinking that they're interested in this film as well.
They've heard about it then, so their marketing is hitting it right. Then it's not just people that are searching for it like us.
No.
So if they these normies, as you put it, have heard about it and seen it, then that's a thoroughly good sign. I think,
and again, a lot of people that I know that go to movies regular, were intrigued by the trailer, and I'm like, yes, the trailer's very good. Go read up on this film because you're gonna.
Well, it's just a beautiful looking film, isn't it? I mean, technically speaking, it looks.
No, that was shot. Like that was shot on a Sony FX6, right? Cinema camera. Yeah. So that's basically a hand-built rig. You start with your basic, not even a box.
Yeah, frame. I was gonna say a Valiant Renegade. I told him about that, and he's like, "You're serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm serious. That's what it shot." And he told me the significance of it is because it's cheap as shit.
Yeah, it didn't cost.
It puts out a really good picture.
It does.
Yeah. Now I have a very limited. See, this is where I'm curious about it. I only have one choice to see it, and that is Wednesday on the Ultra screen. Otherwise, it's not showing any more than that on any theaters around me. So that's what I was afraid of.
That's odd.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be shot beautifully. You're going to get to see shots that you wouldn't normally see because somebody's not, crating around a big old rig.
Why does it have to be tomorrow on like my busiest fucking day of the year?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. H knows. I mean, you got those big, the big cinema cameras.
There's some decent screen seats left too. Damn it, I should
go and see it.
That's it.
Like hardly anybody's going. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seats. 7 seats sold in Madison, Wisconsin, the capital of Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's midweek, isn't it? Anyway, we're
but there's no other showtimes after that. That's the only showtime.
That's odd. I think they'll probably update them though, but I could be wrong because there's no other films out anyway, so no competition. But anyway,
or is it an early screen? Is it open wide?
Yeah,
Star Trek's never getting made. Let's get us some of these super chats.
Sorry.